Hello and welcome to Scott Bryson Beyond the Service. Hope you're doing well. Tonight, I would just want to share a small little short story with regard to why I actually left the Secret Service. I retired after 25 years, 25 good years. Do I have some complaints along the way? Yeah, of course. But I'd like to think that I didn't waste 25 years of my professional life to an outfit that was subpar. Obviously, I got some things wrong. Last year, July 13th, sucked. I think they get an F minus for Butler, PA, but that's not what I want to talk about tonight. I do want to talk about why I retired and why I left. I mean, I think at the end of the day, you have an end goal in mind. For the federal government, as far as 1811s go, which is federal agents, you have to work 25 years, fully vested. Now, I think a lot of local police are 30, which I think is way too much. I think all law enforcement should be 20, but no one's asking. But if I were to ever run for office, which I'm pretty sure is never going to happen, but if I ever found myself in some type of office where I could affect change, positive change, I would try to do that. Like, I think law enforcement should be 20 or 25 years, not 30. That's ridiculous. But anyway, Secret Service requires 25 years fully vested service or 20 years of service with the age of 50. Well, the time I had 20 years, I wasn't 50 yet. I was in my late 40s. So once I got to 50, I had 24 years on the job. So I could have retired at 50 with 24 years of service, which was my original plan. But then late in my career, around the 19-year mark, I got promoted finally and found myself back on PPD, which is the President's Detail, Presidential Protective Division, with Trump. I was assigned to Eric Trump. I was his detail leader for almost a year and a half up in New York. Then I came back to the detail, ran our surveillance unit for a year, which I had done for 4.5 years prior, so I felt like I knew that pretty good. And then I ran the JOC, which is the Joint Operations Center, for about 8 months. And by that time, I was smoked. I was like 35 months in to an assignment that took no prisoners, and I was tired and ready to do something different. So we put in for a transfer and went to Hawaii. So I thought my last duty station, well, I actually thought what I was going to do is I thought I was going to go to Hawaii, check a box over there, because Secret Service likes for you to check the box, to be well-rounded, whatever. And I was going to try to come back to PPD as a 15 and retire. Had Trump gotten reelected, I probably would have tried that. I don't know if I would have gotten picked, but that would have been my game plan. That did not happen. So I had this little plan, and it didn't really come to light like I had thought it would. So I go to Hawaii with the intentions of either retiring from Hawaii and just, I wasn't going to live over there forever, but like retire from Hawaii and come home to North Carolina. Or I thought that maybe, I would come back to the detail and get promoted and wrap up my time in DC. Well, COVID hit, and all H broke loose, as you know, if you remember that, and things got crazy. And so, unfortunately for me, they were trying to push the vaccine on federal employees, and I wasn't having it. I took a lot of heat for that in my office of about, I think there were 20 people. I was a supervisor. There were four supervisors in that office. I was one of them, and 16 worker bees, I think it was. And 2 of us didn't take the vaccine. Me and this one guy, Jake, who worked for me. He's a great guy, God-fearing man. And we got called every name in the book. They made our lives pretty miserable, to the point it got so bad, in fact. And then, of course, Trump lost the 2020 election, and I could see the writing on the walls. Things were getting super aggressive in Hawaii. They're a very liberal state. Whatever California does, Hawaii does about a week or 2 later. Gavin Newsom says it, and they think it's the gospel, and so they do it. They're not really that much not really much on free thinking. It's like we're open-minded and tolerant until you disagree with us, then you're wrong. So, okay. So between COVID, my supervisors at the time really kind of putting the clamp on me, and they're nice enough dudes. And I had worked before 'em, not for them. I had worked with the boss, the actual special agent in charge. I had worked with before on PPD. And when I was in London, he came and did some temps, and then he just slingshotted right around me, which is often the case. Some people's career track, people advance faster in their career track than others. Fine. I mean, I thought he was a competent guy, um, but man, it was like I don't really want to get into it, but it made my life a little difficult. He and the number one and number two, and they made my life a little difficult, which is whatever. It's fine, but uh, it is what it is. But uh, I could see the writing on the walls. Another supervisor that was my pay grade retired, and so I had this tremendous amount of responsibility. I was doing the work of two dudes, which was fine because there wasn't a whole lot going on in the protection side of the house because you couldn't really travel. But then it opened up a little bit, but I couldn't travel because I wasn't vaccinated, and that put a hardship on everybody. I kind of had the bullseye on my back, and I felt like I was sort of dead weight, but I wasn't going to cave. I knew I wasn't going to cave in. So I asked for a voluntary downgrade, which in hindsight, I wish I would not have done, but I did. I thought it was the right choice at the time. And it's easy to armchair quarterback now. Well, I should have done this. Well, we didn't know then what was happening, right? So I could look back on it and go, nah, I could have stuck it out and I'd have been fine. But at the time, I thought I was going to lose my job and my pension, and how's I going to pay my bills and all these things. I'm like, well, if that happens, I need to be back on CONUS, living near family or with family. If I can't pay my mortgage, I need to have somewhere to live. So we came back. I took a voluntary downgrade after 5 years of being a supervisor. Uh, 3 of those were on PPD, which I would argue is the hardest GS-14 spot in the Secret Service. It was a good assignment, but hard. And then 2 years as an investigative, 14 running the criminal squad in Hawaii. Pretty busy there too, but not nearly as busy as being a 14 on PPD. Different kind of busy, and COVID really screwed it up. It was really weird. But yeah, I took a downgrade. I came home, and I want to be very careful here because unfortunately, this man has passed away, and I'd worked with him in the past too. And for whatever reason, he made my life really hard, and I never did really find out why he was almost, I don't know, almost against me in a way. It was weird. It was just sort of weird. But like I said, he's passed, and uh, I don't harbor ill will. I made peace with that situation years ago anyway. Um, so it's fine. But it was just I had this really good career. I had worked 25 years, made some really good friends, had some really good assignments, had some hard assignments. Was blessed to live all over. I've lived all over the place. My family got some really cool experiences. But at the end of my career, it was a little anticlimactic. I'm not going to lie. The last year in Hawaii was just hard. The last year in Wilmington, North Carolina, was hard in a different way. I, on Friday, we were the same pay grade. On Monday, he's my boss, and it was like he had a harder time adjusting to it than I did. I made damn sure, excuse my French, that I could check my ego before I decided to take the downgrade, because I knew that would be a thing, right? I needed to check myself, and I'm like, yeah, I think I can go back to doing what I used to do and be fine, because I'm just going to do a year anyway. So I had already met the time to retire. I just didn't have. I had signed a mobility agreement, so I had the age and the time, but I had to sign this mobility agreement, and I was going to have to pay the Secret Service back for the move, which was $149,000 in total, which I was like, not happening. So I can do anything for a year. So I kind of stood on my head for a year down there, and it was a tough year. I mean, I'm not going to lie, it was tough. My wife was back up here, and excuse me, there in the Charlotte area, while we were building our house. And because we had dogs, and it was it was just easier for her to be here because of the dogs, and I was going to work 8 hours a day, and she was sitting around down there by herself. So I understood, where she was coming from. But it was hard for me. I found myself alone a lot. Living at the beach sounds a lot better than it really is, especially in the wintertime. It's really dreary down there. And there wasn't a whole lot of people, and there wasn't a lot to do. I had zero friends down there because all my friends are up here, different places, and it was a small office, and I lived about an hour away because most people lived up in the Wilmington area, and I lived down about an hour south of that. So I really didn't know a lot of people, and uh, I went home to an empty house, and poor me, right? I'm not trying to cry river, but it was just hard. It's fine, but it was hard. The last couple years of my career were a little anticlimactic, and I wish, in hindsight, I would have done a little differently. But it is what it is, and I think that I think God was growing me during that time, and I did some soul searching, and I feel like my walk with the Lord definitely strengthened during that time. So that was good. So there's some positives, and everything like that. But I just wanted to jump on here and share that little story with you guys, because sometimes I get asked a lot, well, why did you retire? Well, I mean, I could have stayed. Like, I could still be on the job. The Secret Service forces you out. Federal government forces you out at 57. And sometimes I think to myself, oh, because I've still been working, um, and I haven't really, necessarily feel like I've lived up to my potential in the last couple of years at the job I've been doing. I chose it. No one put a gun to my head and said, "Hey, go do this job." I chose it, and I've really enjoyed what I do, which I think is coming to an end pretty soon too. But I don't know. I feel like I've just gone backwards a little bit. Uh, since I left Hawaii, I took a downgrade, and then I had this job in Wilmington that was very anticlimactic, and I was doing things I had done 10 years prior. And then I retired, and I got back into law enforcement at another agency, which I really enjoy. Like, the agency I work for has been, the sheriff himself is an amazing human being. I've known him a long time, and he offered me a job, and I feel very grateful for the job that I've been given. Uh, but as far as like a leadership role or potential, I haven't really had that opportunity. Um, and that's an ego thing for me, and I'm just being completely transparent right now. I have no qualms. I'm really grateful for the opportunity that I've had. I just haven't had an opportunity to sort of tap into some of those leadership skills that I think I have, and maybe I'm giving myself too much credit. A buddy of mine always busts my chops and goes, "What's wrong with you, dude? This retirement job." I don't know. I tried to turn it off. I've tried to turn it off and relax. It's hard to. I'm a very type A dude, and I wish I could switch it off a little bit sometimes. But I just think I'd say the last 4 years, 4 or 5 years of my professional life as a grown man in a law enforcement profession has just been a little anticlimactic, and it all started with COVID, really. And sometimes I think to myself, man, maybe I should have stayed. Maybe my pride got in the way. I'm just being honest with you guys. Maybe my pride got in the way. Maybe my ego got in the way. And I don't mean in terms of taking the jab. I'm glad I stood my ground on that. But as far as like leaving the job, I didn't leave it early. I actually gave them an extra year than I could have gone out at 50 years old with 24 years service, but I went out at 51 with 25 because of like I said, the mobility agreement. But, you know, listen, I believe everything happens for a reason. I don't think God doesn't do random. God doesn't make mistakes. His timing is perfect. These seasons that we walk through are relevant to us at that time. And it's easy to armchair quarterback, but I think we just have to, at the end of the day, if we believe in God and we love God, we have to trust Him. We have to trust that He knows what He's doing, because He does much more than we do. And I think sometimes He chuckles at, well, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it. Are you? Okay. Okay, tough guy. But I mean, I just wanted to share that little insight with you guys in case there's anybody out there struggling that uh, maybe maybe it's in your career, or maybe it's in your personal life that you're struggling with something. Just hang in there, stay the course. Once you make a decision, go with it. You don't don't second guess. Second guessing doesn't do any good. It doesn't provide any value. Um, and I just think that it's okay to get frustrated sometimes, but it's also okay to just to surrender. And sometimes that's really hard for people like us, but it's okay to trust in God and trust in His plan, and just know that everything does happen for a reason, and there are no real coincidences.